Hi everybody, the experiment goes on. I was rather pleased with the result I had with the last video I put up using a tripod. So I'm carrying on. I brought along just a selection of bulbs, a random selection you could say. As you know, I'm still sorting out stuff upstairs. The box which I should be taking over to my friend is getting bigger and bigger. I'm just hoping the car's going to be big enough to put it in, but we'll have to see how it goes. So it's given me a chance to have a look at the collection, thinning out stuff that I've got so many duplicates of, and it's given me a good chance to show stuff which otherwise wouldn't have been shown. Anyhow, let's start off with this. It's nice because I've got both hands. I've got two hands, look at that. This is a marathon lamp. It's a company called Oliver Industrial Lamps. They weren't, well, I say they weren't that popular. I can remember seeing these being used in an eatery somewhere. Now, very rare I go into a place to eat, but I did on this occasion. It was either Little Chef or one of them, and the lamps they had in there were in fact Oliver Marathon, and I was lucky enough to find one of these. It's got a bit of blurb there, can you see? Yeah, I can sort of checking that I'm pointing it to the right direction. Anyhow, let's have a look at the lamp itself. They did make normal GLS type lamps, but this one is an example of a reflector spotlight type. You've got your name on there. I'm hoping it shows up okay. It's Oliver Marathon, and these lamps were supposed to last a bit longer. Whether they run the actual filaments at reduced power, I don't know, or made the filaments longer so they wouldn't run so hot. But there's the lamp, Oliver Marathon. It's a name a lot of you probably have never even heard of. I don't even know if in fact they are in production still. I'll tell you where they were made. That's what it says on the end of the box. Burnham Market, Kings Lynn, PE 31. I think that's probably Peterborough. As you can see on there, it was long life, 3500 hour, 8mm spot. Anyhow, I will light these up at the end. I'll do what my mate does. He shows you the bulbs, then he lights them up one after another, so I think I'll probably do the same thing. Next up, another name probably not familiar with a lot of you. If you're on the continent, yeah, it's as far as I know it's a Belgian company, Sigte. Probably one I got when I was over on the continent some years ago. 36.50. Now I that is probably the old money in Belgium. I can't imagine it would have cost 36 euros. Oh, excuse me. Once again I'm choking. There's the lamp again. It's a candle lamp. The name's Sigte, and the code on it, if you can see it. I'll hold it still. It looks like 01, but I'm not too sure. Looking at the filament, it's just a normal coil. What is nice in these candle lamps is to see a rough service type filament, but that went out with the arc. I will show you one. There's the lamp, Sigte. This one I can't light up, or can I? I will have to rearrange my... That won't go in there, will it? No. No, sorry, that one is just a demonstration as it is. I will have to put in extra holders on my little testing arrangement. Now next up, EK Cole. That was the name of the company, and they called their name Echo. They're under, well, they originally went under, well, it didn't. It's Echo Ensign, but the company was EK Cole, and that's how they got the name. Echo Ensign Electric Limited. Well, I have got an Ensign lamp upstairs, which I believe I've shown at some time. Echo merged in with Atlas, and several name changes. I think they ended up being GE, but things change a lot. There's the indication: 240 volt to 30, 40 watt bayonet cap, pearl plain. The plain refers to the fact that it's not twisted. Untwisted candle. Now, I just mentioned rough service filament. I think I can show it in there. You can see the filament. That is a rough service type filament, and they were the, well, you know, if you're collecting this type of lamp, they're the ones to go for. They're the older style, and they lit, in fact, the whole lamp. But recently, I say recently, a few years ago, they changed over and just used the standard coil filament, which was a little bit on the boring side. But this one, rough service. I'll show it a light. That's Echo. See what's on the cap actually. Yeah, more or less what it says on the box. Made in UK, code 86. So if you experts at codes and that, which I'm not, and I'll freely admit it, can tell me what year it is, I would think it's possibly 1950s, 60s. Say, you can prove me wrong, because I honestly don't know, but their code is 86. I say these lamps were picked at random. I picked up, I don't know where I got this one from, Wolfram. I suppose a play on the name Wolfram, but that's the name of the lamp. It's I don't think it was made over here. It was obviously made for the British market, I would think, because of the bayonet cap. But they do show one there with the screw, so they're obviously made for the two types. And let's show you. I've got quite a few of these. This is obviously the cross version. It's a neon. It's coated with like a red lacquer. It's not in the glass. It is a lacquer. You can see in places it's coming away. Bayonet cap. I was looking to see if there was concentric circles, but there isn't. Had there been concentric circles on there, I would have said, but it's definitely come from the Far East. It probably has come from the Far East. And there we are. Neon. These do blacken up fairly fast, so if you've got any of these in the collection, try not to have them on for a long time, because it will blacken the glass. Alright, next up, when my mate came over, when was it, a couple of months ago, he brought over some lamps for me, and this is one of them. It's out of traffic light. Now, as you know, traffic lights are changing over to LED type. You can easily tell they're LED because they're made up of like a load of sort of pimply type LEDs. They're quite distinct. Well, anyhow, before they used those, they had this type of lamp, and the actual filament was positioned so that when this was screwed into the reflector that gave out your either red, amber or green, it was in focus, so it gave out a good clear indication of the light being used. So that was why they made the English ones had a normal envelope, but the filament was further down. But what is common to all of these traffic light type lamps, and including the American ones, is the good old rough service filament. And as you see, this is a very nicely made filament. I understand these came from lamps being changed over from tungsten to LED. And I was saying my mate he bought me 7 of these, I believe. So I thought, well, I'll show them now. The name's Osram. If you've got the wattage on there. No, I can't see the wattage. It's possibly 60 watts, I would think. But it's a very strong filament because these had to last a long time, I think, and of course being turned on and off as they go through the sequence, it is a bit of a stress. And you can see also it has 2 fuses in there as well. So it's a well-made lamp, and it's a nice shape as well. I suppose that's the shape the German traffic lights were. So thanks, Alec. Quite an interesting lamp. What interesting. Right, now we have here something I've always liked. It's once again a rough service lamp, an English rough service. I think it was made by Osram. Yeah, I don't know if the name shows up, it might do. It's very faint, but it's Osram. These were made in either 40 watts or 60, and it was a rough service type lamp. As you see, this one's had quite a few hours of use. The lamp is blackened, but the filament, which is a double wreath, is still intact. I'll show it a light next. And I'm quite pleased I got this because it is an example of that type of lamp. I believe the system which we now use, or did use, for rough service lamps was the zigzag type filament, which I understand was the popular one they used on the continent, whereas this double wreath was expensive to make, and it unfortunately lost favour. I have shown a couple of these type of lamps. I think one was a coloured glass one with this type of filament. No fusing in the stem, just wires going straight down. So they're the rough service lamp. They're the type of lamp you'd use in a lead lamp or in a place with heavy industry and a lot of vibration. Now finally I show you a modern modern carbon filament lamp. When I say modern, it's a few years old. Probably not made now. Made by Philips. You've got a code on there. I think it says D1 with a little star. I know someone that will probably tell me where it was made, when it was made, and what the makers had for lunch. I'm joking. There we are. I know It will probably come up with the where it was made, obviously in Holland somewhere, I think. Showing 230 volt 60 watt. A nicely made lamp, typical carbon. The way the carbon is fixed to the feed wires is by a carbon paste, and also the supports are also carbon paste, and it's not fused, by the way. This one's had a few hours use. These lamps were used, well, I can remember them used for heating purposes. I remember good old Woolworths had this type of lamp under their peanuts. At that time you could buy heated peanuts. And I'm going back a few years, and as a kid I would see these lamps underneath the peanuts, and longed to have one, but obviously I couldn't get one, but I could see the lamps, and they weren't sold by the lamp department. They were obviously supplied with the product, which kept the peanuts warm. Anyhow, I'm going to quickly show you these alight. I think I can show most of them alight. Yes, yeah, I can. There's one I can't. Anyhow, let's start. I've got this in my hand. Let's start with this one. See if we can see it. I might have to tilt the camera up a bit. Yeah. I'm still getting used to using the tripod. Now the variac is off. The light is now off. Let's just have a look in the camera. Bring it down a bit more. There we are. Slowly winding the, as you can see, we're slowly winding it up. That is at 100 volts. I can go the full maximum of this. 200, 250. We're on the correct voltage for this lamp. I'll bring it down again. Move that out of the way. Slowly wind it down. The reason I haven't kept it on too long, because these do tend to get hot. That one's warm, I can undo it. That's your carbon filament lamp by Philips. Next up we'll show you the rough service type lamp with the double wreath. I'll make sure that actually shows in on the camera. That's it, powering up. 50 volts. Always start these old lamps with a variac or a light dimmer or something like that. It's preferable. I tend not to power them up at the maximum power. That's 100. And I'm not going to take this one fully up. There's 150 volts. You can see the shape of the filament. It is quite a nice shape, and I can see the name on top. It's Osram, and it's 60 watt RS rough service. So there's that rough service lamp of light. These ones tend to last quite a long time because the filament is not run as bright as if it was coil. And being vacuum, these were vacuum lamps. This is why you've got the build-up of the actual blackening. Had it been gas filled, the blackening would have probably gone down to the stem. Right, let's show you the traffic signal lamp, which is also a rough service type. I'm pretty sure this is on 220 or 230 volts. So I'll wind it up slowly. I'm pretty sure that's what it's on. There we are. Is that coming in all right? Yeah. That's just over 50 volts. You can see the way the filament is waved. So this lamp would have been operated that way round, which makes sense because when you look at a set of traffic lights, the light would in fact be horizontal, and it's obviously laid that way round, so that would have been to the bottom and that would have been to the top. I'll put it on to 100 volts. I'm not going to go above that. That's it running at 100. Traffic light lamp, rough service filament, and that was made by German Osram, and it's hot because it's gas filled. This one's obviously gas filled, and just on that short time I can't touch the top. Right, to show you the little cross type lamp. I'm pretty sure this is on our voltage. I'll wind up carefully. Move that oops, that's the wrong one. We'll wind that up gently. Yeah, it's obviously on our voltage. Hasn't struck yet. It don't look like it's a worker. Yes, it is. It's just come on. That's at 150 volts. And that's at 200. It is our voltage. It's 220. And there you get the characteristic neon in the shape of a cross. Made extra red by the fact the coating on the glass. They did at some time, and I've never come across one. They made a Beehive Neon. This would have been Osram as far as I know. 5-watt Beehive Neon that was used for in a developing area for films, and that had a red coating on the glass. I've never seen one, but I know they did this. So if you get one with red coating, you've got something quite rare. Most of the ones you see are just plain glass. Still on at 150 volts. Now off, so it strikes at just above 100 volts. Unplug it. Alright. Next is the Echo candle lamp. As I said, it's this has got a nice rough service type filament. So let's have a little look at it alight. The X off. See, now you can see the actual shape of the filament, and they're the nicer lamps to collect in the candle range. You'll see the next candle I show, which will be the Sigte one. Very boring, but this one has got a nice filament, Nice rough surface type filament. As I say, they don't make them, well, they don't make them at all now, but when they stopped making them, this wasn't the type. There's 50 volts going into it, 100, 150, I'm not going to go above that. That's on 100, 150 volts. As you can see, it shows you that filament, beautifully done. They did make these in clear glass and in twisted or plain. Well, this is obviously a plain one, but pearl. Chief among these were ones made by Bell, British Electric Lamps Limited. They had their factory in Wimbledon, no longer there. In fact, the factory was very close to where I worked at the local telephone exchange, Spencer Hill Road. But this one is EK Cole or Echo Ensign. I'll drop that one back. You can see what happens. Goes slowly, bring it down. These Variacs I swear by. They are good. And I say when my mate shows lamps, he also does the same thing. He's got a very posh Variac, and good luck to him. Whereas I have to actually do that to it. His one, I think he just presses a button and a motor comes in and it drives it round. Very nice. Now, I can't show you this one I like, because ashamed to say I haven't got a small Edison screw socket. I will get one. I've probably got one, but it's just a case of winding it up. So if you can bear with us, that is the lamp, but you won't see it alight. I know what Alex got. He has got a very nice setup. I think he's got holders for every single type of lamp, from the small ones up to the pre-focus type. We had one of my ones. I said, well, look, you're more likely to use it. You take it. He was well pleased. He said, oh, they're quite rare. I said, oh that's all right. So I'm glad he's got it. Now I'll show you this one, because this one I can put. The filament of that one, by the way, is a normal coil, but it's probably run at a lower temperature. In fact, the filament's probably longer than it would normally be, because these lamps did last a long time. And I remember this, as I said earlier, I said in a local eatery, I don't know if it was a Little Chef or it was one of those type of places, and the lamps weren't particularly bright, but obviously they lasted a long time, going back a few years. Let's wind her up. That's at 50 volts. Let's see if we can see that on there. Oh yes, we can. I keep forgetting to check the camera. There's 100 volts, and there's 150. I'm not going to go above that. You get an idea of the lamp of light. Anyhow, that concludes that's the few lamps I put up. I might put another one up later. I don't quite know what's happening. It's what turns up as I'm sorting through stuff upstairs. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'll put that one in. I'm just seeing on the side there, I've got a couple of photo floods. They're both, I think they're both Philips. Different era, but I think it's the same lamp. So, you know, I've got plenty of choices. So once again, thanks for watching. Any questions, please ask. And once again, I'm slowly going through the questions that have been left.